That's fantastic. I want to go on a buddy bench. I'm a relatively recent design person in the sense that I didn't study design. I had to do a lot of catch up in order to learn to do this class. But one of the things that I have just absolutely fallen in love with when it comes to design is this notion that probably to a lay person like me, when I first started thinking about it, you think about, again, like, oh, I'm designing this thing, or maybe I'm designing a building, or maybe I'm designing like a park or something like that. But you don't get very far into it, and then you start thinking, well, what if you could design things to change something that you saw that was wrong in your community? What if you could use design to sort of approach a problem and use the tools that you have in order to try and help empower others to change and to make things go in a different direction? What if you started thinking about design more broadly than just sort of the things that you can see and touch, but to the actual systems and the places and the people that we know? That is why I am really excited for our next speaker. She is the CEO and founder of Fair Anita. She has traveled all over the world working with women and girls, thousands of them, on fair trade products and supply chains. She is a graduate, I will say, again, to try and tease a little extra applause out of the University of Minnesota. So please help me in welcoming to the stage Joy McBreen, everybody.
Thank you, Tane. Hey, so my name's Joy. With a name like Joy, there comes the sense of responsibility to always be happy, to spread joy, to live up to this big name of mine. I think for the most part, I do all right with this. I can at least fake it till I make it. But every once in a while, it's tricky. And when I was a student here at the University of Minnesota, I really struggled with that. So before my freshman year of college, I was raped by a man that I worked with. And this led to anxiety and depression and confusion and anger, but ultimately it led to a completely different trajectory for my life. Joy was something I had to fake my way through. I felt all this pressure to present as my pre-rape self. So I was trying to figure out how to heal, and using the skills that I was learning at the University of Minnesota in design thinking and entrepreneurship, I started a social enterprise called Fair Anita. So at Fair Anita, we work with 8,000 women in 9 countries, primarily survivors of sexual or domestic violence. And then we sell their fair trade products here in the United States. So we co-design products, we use their traditional skill sets, and then we keep a Western market in mind, and then we pay at least 3 times minimum wage, plus health insurance, plus educational scholarships, and support a variety of community programs as well. So of course, all my jewelry tonight, Fair Anita. So it's designed by me, and then it's made by our artisan partners around the world. So I believe that design thinking and entrepreneurship are deeply intertwined, and I'm passionate about using this intersection to create systems and supply chains that are better for marginalized people, especially survivors of sexual violence. So my approach to this, I wanted to better understand what violence against women looks like in different cultural contexts. So I started traveling, and I was trying to build intentional relationship with survivors around the world. So I had the real privilege of hearing thousands of stories and bonding over these deeply intimate, deeply painful experiences. But it was through this that I learned that financial insecurity is the #1 reason why women stay in abusive partnerships. But when women have economic opportunity, more children are in school, entire communities improve. So how do we intentionally design economic opportunities for women? How do we include women in the formalized economy? The artisan craft industry is the 2nd largest employer in the developing world. Yet so many of these artisans, especially women, lack access to market. So you have tons of people, highly skilled individuals, but they're still living in this extreme poverty because our existing supply chains don't serve them. And then because economic opportunity keeps women trapped in these abusive cycles, these women are really stuck. And they're stuck in these exploitative cycles, so if they are gonna sell their own craft, they're maybe making pennies of what they would, or what they deserve, Or they end up working in a factory, often in terrible working conditions for US brands that we know and love. So how do we design supply chains that empower women rather than exploit them? How do we make sure that women have the economic opportunities they need to leave an abusive partner? So again, traveling, I found myself in Cambodia. And I wasn't alive during the Vietnam War, but when I learned that the US dropped more bombs on on Cambodia during the Vietnam War than they dropped during all of World War II combined, I was completely mortified. These are people losing family members and don't have access to vaccines or nutritious foods, and they're suffering from chemicals dropped in bombs. This is trauma that families are still enduring and processing. It was clear that I had so much to learn from these people. How to overcome trauma through empathetic human relationships and human-centered systems design. So here I was in Cambodia in our artisans workshop, and every single one of our partners suffers from polio or a severe physical disability because of US actions on their country. Yet they're thriving. They're all working in a different area of their strengths and skill sets, working together to create these fair trade products. This group primarily makes organic cotton bags. So women who might have differently abled legs show us their super strength arms, and they might be cutting fabric or pasting elements, or even using the weight of their leg to operate the pedal of a sewing machine. So the vibe in this workshop is just, it's complete magic. Everyone is working together around this common goal. We're so lucky to work with these incredible partners. So we do the design work, and then they're growing organic cotton, weaving the fabric, screen printing it, sewing it into bags that we eventually sell in the United States. So I believe this is what true sustainable partnership looks like. At Farinita, we have a better understanding of the US market, whereas our partners in Cambodia they know how to make high-quality bags. So we can trust one another. We can support one another, collaborate, challenge one another, compromise on occasion, but definitely celebrate one another. So this is a fair trade relationship centered around human relationships and made stronger through design. We're also really trying to be intentional about respecting cultural traditions, and cultural identity is absolutely a piece of that. And so we're able to work through our traumas together through this partnership, using design as that vehicle. We thrive when they thrive, so we all thrive together. So how do we create supply chains that involve the full human rather than simply her ability to produce? How do we acknowledge her past but dream together for the future? How do we ensure that the economies of tomorrow are empathetic and human-centered? So I was back in Cambodia a couple weeks ago, and this time we brought along 20 American visitors, and we were working alongside our Cambodian partners to build an organic garden. And so the idea behind that was to produce an additional revenue stream. And so we're working alongside our partners, carrying dirt in 100-degree heat for multiple days, and at the end of this, we had this beautiful dance party. So all sorts of differently abled bodies dancing together to music that ranged from traditional Cambodian Khmer to Beyonce. And at the end of the night, the last song was A Million Dreams. And there's a line in that song that says, "We can live in a world that we design." And it completely got me. It brought me to tears. It's these women, these partnerships, they've helped me find again, that joy in my life. When we partner together and practice empathy and create systems that are human-centered, I believe we can design a world that's better for us all. Thank you.